Good afternoon. My name is Brian Field, and welcome to the web-based meeting management system demo, MeetingResult. All right, our goal today is to show you how MeetingResult can help you gain control over your meetings, save you time, and improve the productivity of the projects that your meetings support. Many of you I know are already existing MeetingResult users. You're most likely using MeetingResult on your iPads. Today we're going to show you the new web-based version that we've rolled out recently, and introduce you to that and show you some of the functionality. I'm going to do so from the perspective of a use case here. So I'm going to assume the role of Dan Smith. So Dan is a busy project manager at a small software development company called Sumtech LLC. Dan manages 2 software development projects and has overall responsibility for sales. He conducts regular meetings with his developers for both of his software development projects, and he also conducts regular sales meetings with the sales team to review their efforts. So I'm going to play the role of Dan here today, and basically what we're going to show you is how Dan is using MeetingResult to track the status of his past meeting assignments, how he's measuring his overall meeting performance for each of his projects. We're going to show you how Dan can plan and execute a meeting, create and distribute reports about the meeting, whether it's an agenda before the meeting or a summary report after the meeting. And then we're going to also show you what each member of Dan's team will have in terms of a dashboard for their own collaboration around this meeting space. Those are the main features I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the system at this point. The web address is cloud.meetingresult.com. And we'll log in here. All right, great. For those of you who are using the iPad application already, this will look somewhat familiar to you. We've got our projects on the left. We talked about Dan having 2 software development projects, 1 and 2 here. And then this is the sales project that Dan's responsible for as well. So let's take a look at one of the software development projects first. We'll jump into that. We get a dashboard for the individual project. We can see the team members here that are listed on the left. We can see the meetings that are scheduled for this software development project. We can also see the meetings that have been completed. And then on the right here, we've got a list of all of the meeting assets. Those are the notes, the decisions, the issues, the risks that have been captured in the action items for this project and for the meetings that have happened for this project. So Dan wants to be able to keep track of the assignments that he's made on this project. So two things Dan can do. Dan can look over here at the asset column, and he'll see every single action item, every decision that's been made, and he can quickly look down the list here and review the status, and he'll see that most of these are completed. He'll see that one of them is in progress, so he can open this up and take a look at it for more detail. And we see here that David has left a note for Dan saying that he's waiting on the feedback from customer to finalize the remaining details. So that's one way that Dan can keep track of all the assignments for this project. Another way that Dan can do that, if he wants to look at the overall meeting performance for this project, Dan can click on this button and run a report. And what this report is going to show Dan is just going to give him a snapshot of all the meetings that have happened for this project. He's going to see that there's 1 planned, 3 meetings that have been completed. Overall, 87% of the people that Dan's invited to these meetings have actually attended. And on average, they've spent about 2.2 hours per meeting, and they've captured 8 meeting assets per hour of meeting time. And then if we look down at these graphs, what we're seeing is that they have completed all their agendas. And in terms of the types of meeting assets that they've captured, about half of them are action items, a quarter are decisions, and then we've got about 8% issues and 17% notes. That paints a picture of the type of meeting information that is being generated and that we're capturing during those meetings. If we want to dive in and look a little closer at the assets themselves, we can see a breakdown of the types of meeting assets. We've got 6 action items, and then that means this gray number here means that there's 1 outstanding, 1 issue, 1 outstanding, 0 risk, 2 notes, and 3 decisions. Now we're going to see how many of these assets that have a due date, and those are action items, issues, and risks, how many of those have been completed on time. We can see there's 5 been completed on time, and 2 are actually overdue. And if we look to the right, we can see who's responsible for those overdue assets. This allows Dan to really dive into that project and look and see how are the meetings performing, what needs attention. And so if Dan looks at this report and he wants to say, okay, I've got some overdue assets here, he could jump back to his project, look at the overdue assets, which we've already looked at one of them, and he could send a reminder out to David, to just remind him that, hey, I'm tracking this and I want you to know I'm seeing it's overdue here. So David's going to get another reminder about that assignment. All right, so the next thing we want to do, we've looked at following up and tracking the status of past meetings, and we looked at our overall meeting performance. Next thing we're going to do is look at how we can plan a meeting and execute a meeting. Let's go back to our software development project, and we'll look at our meetings here. We've scheduled a Sprint 4 review, but let's go ahead and create a new meeting so you can see how that works. We'll click on the plus button here. We'll give it a name here. Let's call it Sprint 5 review. And actually, since I'm going to create another Sprint meeting, I can clone a meeting too. I can type in a name of a previous meeting, and it'll show me my list here. I can select one of them, and it will populate all the information for me. And now I can make some changes to it if I want to change the date and the time here. And we'll save that. Next screen is where I'll see my objectives for the meeting, my agenda items. And if I were doing this from scratch, I would have to click and edit and add all of these. But since I cloned a meeting, it sort of helps me with a text entry here, and I can go ahead and just make some changes to some of the data here that I need to. Go back to the objectives, save. I'm going to edit my agenda items and add a new one. And we'll add some time to this. Hours on the left and minutes on the right here. We'll assign an owner. You can search for owners in your list here. You can add planning notes as well. And we'll go back. So now we've added another agenda item. You can reorder these, and we'll save this. We could change attendees if we wanted to. At this point, we'll stick with who we have. And we've got one subscriber. And for those of you not familiar with what a subscriber is, that's somebody who's not going to be invited to the meeting, but they're going to get a copy of the report from the meeting so that they're looped in on what's going on. So at this point, we're done planning the meeting. We've planned all the logistical information. We've defined the objectives, which is the why we're having the meeting. We've structured the agenda, which is how are we going to achieve our objectives. We've invited the people who need to be here based on the agenda and objectives we've laid out. And we've also configured one subscriber to inform that person about the meeting. So at this point, we could go ahead and send out the agenda. We'll take a look at it first and see what it looks like by clicking on the PDF button here. You can also generate it in doc format for Word users. But we'll create the PDF here. Let's make it a little bit smaller here so we can see it. Okay. We'll see we have everything laid out. Up top, we've got our project name, when the meeting is taking place, who's been invited, our objectives, our agenda items. And so that's the agenda that will go out to everybody. Let's go back. So at this point, we're ready to send this out to everybody. We'll go ahead and click on this email icon button here. And it's going to spawn an email, and it's going to put everybody who's invited to the meeting in the to line and the subscribers in the CC line. And so at this point, we would send this out. It has a link to the PDF agenda here and a link to the calendar invite here, so that anybody who receives this email can go ahead and download both of those items. So at this point, let's say we're done with our meeting planning. We'll go back to our main dashboard. We'll see now that we have a new meeting here that we just configured, Sprint 4. So we're ready to execute the meeting. So we open the meeting again and we click on the execute button. And we get this screen, which is the meeting execution dashboard. First thing we'll do is we'll take attendance by just clicking on everybody. We can see who the subscribers are. We'll review the objectives for the meeting. That way, if we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, we can edit any of these items right here. We'll review the agenda. And as we start to go through the meeting, we're going to start capturing our meeting assets. We do that on the right-hand side here. We've got buttons for notes, action items, decisions, issues, and risks. We'll go ahead and capture a few of these just to show you how it works. Let's do an action item. Give it an owner and a due date. Save that. And we'll capture one decision as well. And we'll save that. As we complete our objectives for the meeting, we can indicate that those are completed. This actually drives the metrics reporting that I showed you earlier. So you want to make sure that as you complete things in the meeting, you're checking them off. Same here. The notes, if you've configured any planning notes in your agenda, you have access to those right here as well. And so we'll go ahead and indicate that we've completed everything on this meeting. We've taken attendance, we've achieved our objectives, we've captured our assets, and now we're ready to complete this meeting. Since we've assigned an action item to Dan, the system's going to prompt us, do we want to notify him? So it's going to send out an email to him. And we say, we want to say yes. You could deselect this if you wanted to. We'll go ahead and notify him. And so at this point, the meeting is complete. We've sent our notifications. But now we can also create a summary report. And I'll go ahead and generate that. And again, you can generate it in PDF or Word format. We'll generate the PDF and see what it looks like. Looks a lot like the agenda. So we'll see our check marks here to indicate that we've accomplished our objectives in our agenda. And then down at the bottom here, we've got our tables for each of the different meeting asset types that we captured during the meeting. And just like the agenda, if we want to, at this point, we could go ahead and send that out via email to all of the attendees, and you'll notice the subscribers on the CC of this as well. So we'll send that out. And at this point, we're done with the meeting. We can go ahead and go back to our dashboard. And so we've planned and executed a meeting. We've created and distributed our meeting reports. And the last item I want to show you is the collaboration aspects of the system. And so you'll notice that for the software development project that Dan has, there are a number of team members here listed. And so, we want to take a look at David Smith's dashboard. So David, because he's a team member, he gets a login to the system as well. And so with his username and password, David can log into the system. And this is the view that he's going to see as a team member. He's going to see the meetings that he's scheduled to attend. He's going to see the meetings that he's attended. And then he's going to have a list of all the assignments that have been assigned to him. So that's the majority of the demo. There are a lot of other features. There's advanced search features, and there's the ability to add stakeholders by bulk uploading them. For any of you guys who have used the iPad app, you'll know that that's something that you have to manually enter one at a time. You can export assets to spreadsheets. There's other features, but I wanted to stick to sort of a common use case for the tool today. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.